Welcome to Let's Get Curious. In today's episode, I respond to Lisa's question, and it is, how do you forgive your husband's affair partner? Well, this is a great question, but what's more important than how do I forgive this person that I am so angry, so loathing, so hurt by? The more important question is who, not how. Who do you want to be now and in the future? Who will you become if you don't forgive your husband's affair partner? Forgiving them starts with a decision to forgive, right? And then from there, once you decide, okay, I want to forgive, then your heart begins to lead you. It's this powerful thing. But the hardest part is deciding that you want to. And the thing that brought me to want to was I looked into the future. What is the future that I want? And who is it that I want to be? I felt the intense level of suffering and the intense level of pain and despair. And I knew that feeling was somewhat familiar. It had never been to that level, but it was familiar. And I knew I didn't want to keep feeling that pain. But if I chose not to forgive, that pain was not going to leave me, was going to stay in me because I was holding on to the unforgiveness, which was the pain. A big part of it was the unforgiveness, right? The hurt that I felt from this person. So my encouragement to you is to ask yourself, who do you want to be in this moment? Do you want to be a person who's healing? Or do you want to be a person who's becoming more and more bitter and more resentful? When you think about the future, play it out 5 years, play it out 10 years. If you choose not to forgive your spouse and their affair partner, what does that future look like? Is it a future where you're always afraid, you're always worried, you're always concerned? You see that person or you think about that person and it robs you of the rest of your day or the rest of your week? Like, you get to decide. If you decide that you want to be a person who's free and a person who laughs again and enjoys life and is able to trust again, it's going to require forgiveness. Because what happens is when we don't forgive, it's like we hold on to what happened here in the past. That unforgiveness latches us to that. And then we move into the future and we carry that past with us into the future. And it actually keeps repeating itself. The beauty of forgiveness is forgiveness gives you wisdom. It gives you insight. It gives you awareness into what you didn't see that led to and you blinded yourself to before the affair happened or during the affair. All that naivety, all that blindness begins to disperse and you begin to see what you contributed to what got you to this point. Even if it's your naivety, even if it's your blindness, you no longer carry that same thing with you and you go into the future newly knowing how to not allow this to repeat itself. That's the beauty of true forgiveness, is you come out with wisdom that you didn't have the first time. And it's easy to think out of that bitterness and resentment, like there's a difference. Like when you're bitter and you're resentful and you're hanging on to the unforgiveness, it's, I'll never trust them again, or I'll never do that again. That's different than, wow, I recognize that I can now see that I didn't speak up. I can now see that I didn't trust my gut. I can now see that I actually didn't have the conversations that I needed to have. And that kind of wisdom begins to open up and you begin to stop a pattern from repeating itself in the past because you've let go of what was in the past and you can now move forward into the future newly with new wisdom, with new awareness, with new power to take responsibility for the life that you long for. Now, I have done a whole episode on the steps to forgiveness, and you can find the link to that episode right here on the screen. And that lesson is called How to Forgive You. If you can't find it, you can find the link in the show notes of this lesson. So, forgiveness is vital. And no matter what you're working to forgive, I invite you to consider who you want to be and what is the future you long for, and what freedom could forgiveness open up for you. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.